What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another Watercolor Tuesday. So today we are going to take a break from all the photo references that we've been using, and we're going to go back to the old masters. Today we are going to do a John William Waterhouse study. So just like before, I'm going to start off without any outlines. Now this can be rather risky, so be very cautious when starting this way to start with something quite light. And I like to use a red. It's kind of a burnt sienna, this red that I have here. You could use something like like a Venetian red if they have something like that in watercolor. See how red it is. Or you could use any kind of bright red, just thin it out with water like generously. As you can see, it's kind of dripping there, and kind of just get an idea of the outside shape of the face, and at the same time you are covering the interior of the face. Ear might fit somewhere around there, maybe not. I don't know. The materials are listed in the description box of the video for you, but try to do each wash. As you see there, it's starting to get a little bit dark, as like quickly as you can. So now you see what I'm talking about. So nice clean wash there. Hey Mark, welcome. Giselle, Lisa, welcome everyone. Now we're going to use the same red, as you see in this little mixing area here. I'm going to add a tad bit of green to it, and I'm going to use a sap green, which is not on the palette, so I'm going to keep it off the palette. It's probably going to be off screen. Yeah, I think it's off screen. So a red and a green is going to make a brown. So we're going to go for first little guesstimation for the shadow. So you see it's kind of a brownish color there, and that's going to be our guess. It's going to fit somewhere about there. That's going to be the bottom. And of course, on the outside, we can start to guess where the outside shape is going to fit. Now, watercolor, as it turns out, is a little more forgiving than I thought. The last time I was able to move the lips all the way up, like about an inch or so, just using the we can use some of the raw umber kind of color. Kathy, welcome. So watercolor is actually more forgiving than you would think. And I was kind of terrified to move things with it at first. I was starting off with a little bit too dark, but whatever, it should be fine. Going to sink in anyway. And this is just to get an idea of the outside shape. And you see how nice and clean that wash is. Haven't heard from you in a while, Kathy. How's everything going over there? I'm sure you're well adjusted to living up further north. And this is, of course, 100% cotton. In the beginning few washes, the paper is going to buckle a little bit, and then it gets back on track. So you could prepare the paper ahead of time and wet the back of it. That's what some people will say here. But I don't really feel the need to do that with this paper. Maybe I'll try it out at some point later. but I like the way the paper handles. Now this Waterhouse, we've done this Waterhouse before, and I think acrylic many years ago. And also, I believe we've done it in oil paint. I know that we did a graphite drawing of it a while back. So pretty much raw umber, some of the green, tad bit of red. As you can see, the paper is starting to do its thing. But don't worry about it. It'll fix itself. You're using 100% cotton. I've also used the cheaper paper. I tend to use the cheaper paper for practice. And it does buckle, and even that paper finds its way back. Not really sure how, but it does. Okay, so that's going to be the top of the head. And now we can start to put in some suggestions for where the features are going to fit. And this is going to be kind of like a pen and ink sort of thing. And I'm going to use raw umber. And a little bit of this yellow ochre color, so that it's not too dark. Take most of it off with the water. We use some of these lighter colors. So let me know what everyone thinks about these different materials. If it's too confusing for you, please let me know. Of course, I started out mainly with charcoal and oil paint when we began all of this stuff back in 2017. Here's the concavity of the eye socket on one side. Now on the other side. So yeah, we did charcoal, graphite, mostly oil paint. Experimented with acrylic here and there. I never really got into watercolor until recently. So let me know what you think about this schedule. Doesn't have to be forever, it's just something that we're kind of experimenting with. Hey GT, no worries, thanks for joining. Tear duct here on one side, tear duct on the other side. The original painting, the angle of the eyes is like kind of, instead of where I have it here, it's kind of like this. So it's a little bit, the angle is a little stronger. Not sure if I'm gonna chase that or what. Now we're gonna put the back of the eyes, probably fit around there. Back of this eye fits somewhere around here. So we're just drawing with the brush. We won't be able to erase too much, so we have to be a little bit cautious about where these marks are gonna go. It's gonna be the edge of the nose. And let me know if anyone here is gonna try or has done some watercolor portraits. Because this actually doesn't seem to be working that well. I don't think many people like this. So based on what you think about it will determine if we continue it. Now I will continue working on it on my own, of course. But let me know what you think. I've done a lot of kind of exploring with watercolor over the past couple months. Thanks, Mark L. Top of the mouth relative to the bottom middle of the nose. I'm going to make it a little shorter than I think, because that's something I tend to mess up a lot. So I'm going to put it there, put it right there. edge of the mouth here. The other edge right there. Now I'm using a lighter value so that when I gotta make changes, you know, like that, I'm gonna have to adjust that. That's gonna be much easier to do. There's gonna be more chin, which is no problem because it's gonna get darker anyway. So really, it's not that bad to start the drawing this way. See, I have all that space that I can move down. Again with the ochre. Oh, you have tried the watercolor portraits. I tell you what, they take some bravery to do, especially if you have, you know, your background is only in oil paint or acrylic. Acrylic will give you a little bit more of an advantage when starting watercolor. But things like having to preserve the light like that, that's something that will increase your drawing for sure. Now this is lighter, so I'll be fine to go in with blue later. So keeping these shapes lighter is kind of important right now. And I tell you what, there is a reason to do portrait in watercolor, and that's going to be to sketch. Mainly to sketch. It's a very fast material in the sense that it dries right away, just like acrylic. But unlike acrylic, you can carry it around with you pretty much everywhere you go. Now, this distance here for the forehead is obviously too tall. So again, another correction that should be pretty easy. Hey Giselle. Oh good, I'm glad you enjoy watching the watercolor along with us. But are you using the watercolor? Martin Mosley, welcome. You're a self-taught beginner, recently retired, and enjoy the challenge of watercolor portraits, so I don't know how they stand up in the eyes of others. And that's what I'm here for. 16-year experienced portrait artist. I am entering this as not an expert in watercolor. So people like me are going to be, you know, trying to see what we can do, what we can do with it, how far we can take it. You know, can we make it look like oil paintings? Can we make it look like very realistic paintings? Now, the drawing, of course, in portraiture is the most challenging thing. So trying to find a way to do it in watercolor, as you see how we're making adjustments right now, is going to be critical. But yes, you will definitely get there. Louis, welcome. Is the Mona Lisa smiling? The Mona Lisa is neither smiling nor she is not smiling. Kind of like Schrodinger's cat is neither alive or dead. That's my answer. To anyone that doesn't know about Schrodinger's cat, it's just a quantum physics joke, not to be taken literally. The Mona Lisa is neither smiling or not smiling. Your great grandparents did watercolor before they passed away. You know, actually, my grandmother from my dad's side did do some watercolor as well, but she did mostly ceramics. So yeah, I can relate to that a little bit. Of course, we're moving the forehead down, and we're gonna have the background to do all those adjustments later, so not a big deal. So Brian Ross, welcome. You painted 3 portraits in acrylics. Main problem painting portraits, really struggle drawing the nose. Yes, the nose is a challenging thing. If you consider the fact that the nose itself is pretty much a triangle, a forward-facing elongated triangle, it becomes a little bit easier. And there's our little gap for the nostril. Of course, we're going to be able to subtract to get more into that. Bottom of the nose is going to be about here. I'm very mindful now of the distance between this eye here and this part of the nose. They should be quite close. On Thursday, I did the acrylic of the Nelson Shanks acrylic, and I had this distance too far, and I chose this one posed today because the angle is similar. So making adjustments there, moving that slightly down. Hey Jada, I enjoy taking different takes, but I'm really skilled in most techniques, but still need to conquer acrylic. Oh, awesome. Well, actually, this Thursday we're going to be painting a lion in acrylic because somebody wanted me to paint a lion, and they wanted a very bright color. So the brightest you can get, I think, is in acrylics. Now the mouth, the corner of the mouth is going to go somewhere about here. Again, this is all careful drawing stuff. That's very almost too far, but not. It's salvageable. You can always subtract. I say that with confidence now, even though I didn't know I could do that last week. I didn't know I could move the nose all the way up or down. Giselle, you've used watercolor to get some quick designs. Yeah, they're very useful for quick things, and we'll find out long-term things. Blue is historical Indian yellow is made up of who knows what. I don't know the answer to that one. Upper lip, lower lip, save some space. Okay, now I'm gonna add some blue onto the palettes, and I'm just using the cheaper ones, the cerulean blue. Jeanette, the reason I started with the hair first was just to get the outside shape of the face, two things at once. So I started with the hair to get that value, give it time to sink in, and use it to draw the outside shape of the face. And also from experience with the watercolor, just working with the center of the face, it makes it a little difficult because I don't have anything around it to judge. Cerulean blue, quite bright. Blue for the eyes. Save a little highlight there. Save a little highlight here. So I'm using this. I know it looks weird, but I'm using it to give me a gauge for where the eyes are going to ultimately fit. And I still have some room to move around. The only thing I don't have room anymore is to preserve or to obtain another highlight. Hey Libertas, welcome, welcome. So the key takeaway from today will be that watercolor is a little more friendly than you think. And that's going to be in the sense that you can subtract if you make a mistake. Use 100% cotton paper. They're not too expensive. Not too much. It's not like buying a linen canvas roll for like oil paint. It's not that bad. Back to the yellow ochre. Mix in here. It's a little bit of green. Some of the red. I am here to alleviate any fear about watercolor portraits. As I make a mistake, each week, whenever I make a mistake in watercolor, I learn from it, and hopefully everyone else learns from my mistake. And you'll be able to have more confidence with your acrylics or with your watercolors. Uh, Luis, I did respond to it. No worries. I responded by saying I don't know. I don't know what Indian yellow was originally made up of. I don't know. It sounds like it must have been something quite gross. So just about 30 minutes to get the drawing in place. It's going to take a tad bit longer for me with this material just because I'm not that used to it. And I have to be a tad bit more cautious with the watercolor. Okay, now we're gonna add some more of the red, get a brown, some of the green. And we're gonna go fairly dark to the dark side. The shadows, cast shadow of the nose. Something like that. Now as I do that, I'm going to adjust the light sensitivity on the camera because this is a white sheet of paper. So it's going to I'm going to have to adjust the light as I go. Now we get to add some planes into the face. Work a little bit lighter than you think you need to. You can tell you what the issue you have watching your pre-recorded is that you don't see the chat remarks, trivia answers, or questions to know what you're responding to sometimes. Well, I could fix that. As long as I don't get in any kind of trouble. Give me a second here. I can fix that. I think. I don't know. Let me see. Okay. All right. So, yeah. Ooh, that's gonna be big though. I mean, small. Yeah. I tried adding the chat in there, but, hmm. Looks like the text might be too big. I used to have a code to make it look different. Let's see if I can find that code. Of course, I never like downloading any kind of code that I'm not familiar with. Where's the code for that thing? Dang. I don't know where the code is, but I'm gonna move it to the other side. Yeah. Let me figure this out for a second here. If I can't find the code, I'll do this next time. Because I know that that's going to be distracting. So the last thing I want is to take anything. Okay, I found it. I found the code, everyone. It's almost like I know something about computer science, which I don't. I don't know anything about computer science. Let's see if this code works. Come on, code, work. Oh man, the code isn't working. I think I may just have to take it out and refresh it. I know you're not gonna want that code there. I mean that text. I used to have a code that would make it look better than that. If anybody remembers from 2020. But if it doesn't work, then it's something I'm gonna have to figure out later. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it's not working. But hey, at least I try. I do try. Don't worry, I'm still here. Doing my last little attempt with this. Yes. Yeah, the code's not working. Oh well. Nah, it's definitely not a coding challenge. Trust me, I know maybe like 2 words of Python, 2 script lines of Python, and that's it. And yeah, it didn't work. All right, so let's use some yellow ochre, sap green, and we're gonna start to put in some values for the tear duct area. That may be too green. So what you do to one side, you do to the other. Keep it fair. Now the other side here. And you'll find that watercolor is more forgiving than you think. Yeah, sorry. I will try to fix that later. Oh, I missed something from Biri. For someone who has been using reference with no anatomy studies all year, what would be a good start to study the face anatomy? A book, video, YouTube. A good way to begin studying the anatomy of the face. I always recommend the Vanderpool. The Vanderpool, I think it's like called a handbook or something for artists. It's a really old book. It's not expensive. It's a little book. It's a classic, though I think it's still pretty prevalent today. The Vanderpool. Vanderpool. Let's see. Jada, you wrote, watercolor is the most complex and the most thrilling. Amazingly, it takes the paint to places where other techniques do not. They just sit there where you put them, pretty much not watercolor. Cool. It is thrilling and amazing, Jada. I agree. Watercolors are tough. Yeah, the Vanderpool book. Let me look it up on my phone. Vanderpool. There we go. I found it. I'm going to forward it to myself. And I'll send you a link on the chat. How about that? How about that for helpful? And you can buy it new for $9.95. All right, on Amazon. And yeah, it's got the whole human anatomy along with the face. So there's a lot of charcoal drawings in there that you're gonna want to definitely study. There you go. Did it work? Did it not work? I thought I put that in there. Let me try that again. Okay, there it is. So that's a link to the Vanderpool. And again, it's a figure drawing. So typically, you're not going to just study the planes of the face. You're going to want to study the whole human figure. So that is a really good book. If you don't have it, it is a classic. Let's go in with a little more red. It's a classic in art, classical art education. If you don't know, it is a very, very useful book to use. I think I copied pretty much all of the charcoal drawings in there when I was coming up in the art world. No problem, Beery. Now we're adding some of this red. Don't worry, like I said, watercolor is a little more forgiving than you may think. Just make sure not to go too dark. It may look too dark there, but trust me, we're going to be covering pretty much all of the white of the canvas and pretty much, I'm going to say canvas a lot, but the white of the paper, we're going to cover most of it. So it was a red that I used, but of course it ends up looking less red, which is okay. So, uh-oh, here we go. The story about Indian Yellow. What a story. All right, let's see. Ew. So cows were fed a diet of mango leaves and water, and the result from that is what they used for historical Indian yellow. I didn't know that. I'm so glad I don't have that color. The historical one. Yeah, I'm glad I don't have that color. I didn't know that. Back to the yellow ochre and the green. Well, I guess it's better than how, oops, how Wagyu beef comes into the world. Although Wagyu is not as, you know, at least the cows survive when they make that pigment. Yeah, I am grateful for how far pigments have come. There would also be a greenish, orangish, brownish tones depending on the season. Yeah, obviously synthetic. I hope so. Depending on the season. Depends on what you feed your cow. So does that mean that the cow then took part in the creation of the art? Does that make the cow the artist? Holy cow. Now the cow becomes part of the equation. Now we're putting in planes with little mini washes here. Pretty soon we're gonna have to see how this settled in. It kind of faded into position. Pretty soon we're gonna have to go and add another value, another plane change to the hair. Another value to the hair. Yellow ochre, this kind of orangey color. Old Holland's been around since, yeah, it's been around for a while. 1664, I believe it. I keep bumping into that camera. Yeah, the light fast, so I can sell you for watercolor, tempera paint, not very light fast. Yeah, I mean, I'm not using the most expensive watercolors either. But, I mean, I feel like modern pigments, like we're saying, like we're talking about the modern synthetics, I think they should be just fine. Preserving that light there is what I'm trying to do. Upper eyelid. Preserve the highlight for the eyelid. Same business here. So we add these little mini washes. Again, no, as you see, no linear drawing was required. Hey, Hansel dog. I kind of expect something like that, Lewis. I mean, stack lead white was pretty gross the way that it was developed. I mean, lead white and the history of how it was developed is pretty gross. Makes you thankful for modern times, toothpaste, and having not having lead in our dinner plates. At least hoping we don't. Hey Giselle, yeah, I didn't draw for this one, but I was a little more careful, I was more cautious with the placement of the nose relative to the tear duct. But yeah, lately with all my practice watercolors, I typically don't draw, do any outlines for them anymore. And like last time, if I need to move the mouth, we can do so without any tragedies occurring. I'm glad I left a room for me, for myself to move this shape up. Oh, you asked if there a reason. Yeah, the reason that I'm not drawing with the I'm not doing any outlines with my watercolors anymore for portraits, let's just say for portraits, is that it's workable enough for me to move the eyes or the nose a little bit up or down, enough for me to have a slight margin of error that I can work with. So say I'm a centimeter off with the eye or the nose or the mouth. Watercolor is workable enough that I can adjust it. And it takes less time for me to get to this stage. I could still have been drawing right now if I tried to get it perfect. I could have still been drawing with lines. And I didn't want to do that. But if anyone watching has some troubles with drawing the portrait, then by all means start with a line. Start with a line drawing. Like I said, I'm moving a little bit further away from teaching and more towards, I guess doing. I'm trying to, show you what's possible with these paints, what's possible with painting in general. Like I said, it's pretty forgiving. I'll be able to basically reactivate this paint, this shape up here, and use that to create more gradations. So Jada, you wrote the phrase "Mad Hatter" came about because the glue used to make cats cause what? Cats cause the people who made them go a little nutty. Make cats. Wonder if that's a typo. The key takeaway here, everyone, is watercolor is a little more forgiving than you think. More forgiving than you think. And I'm using a watercolor set. Um, so this is a portrait pan set. So it makes it so I don't have to mix as much. Again, it's fine if that plane stays that way. I'll be able to reactivate it. No concerns for it at all. Oh, to make hats. The glue used to make hats caused people who made them go a little nutty, so that's why they're Mad Hatters. Oh, okay. I mean, it was actually kind of funny with cats. I didn't realize that we made cats, but yes, with the hats, that's true. That's I never heard of that term either. So bring on the historical stuff that I knew nothing about, which is actually going to turn out to be a lot. I don't know much about history other than art history and some, necessary historical history. Things like that I would never have known. So Louise, how could Vermeer afford blue used Vermeer afford the blue used in the girl with the pearl earring? That version of ultramarine is very expensive today. How could he afford it? He probably had some connections, I'm sure. I mean, he wasn't a total nobody back in his day. Those types of paintings, cabinet paintings, I think they were referred to as. Maybe not so much in a good way, but cabinet paintings. They sold, I think, pretty well, so he must have had some connections. How does anyone afford anything these days? That's the real question. Knowing that I can reactivate the paint, it allows me to work in planes like this without having to worry about the way that it dries. That's why I'm saying it's more forgiving than you think. But it took me a while to understand that. It took me many failures. Last week I feel really bad. I think I might paint that model again. Um, just to kind of say I'm sorry because I definitely messed it up big time. One of the few times I really kind of screwed something over pretty bad. Yeah, last week's watercolor just went really bad. Um, and as a result, I learned that I could work this way. So I wasn't all for nothing. See? You can reactivate those planes, overlap them, and you'll be fine. Luis, I don't think Michael Harding's the only brand still making lapis lazuli. Oh yeah, they're expensive. Yeah, $400 tube of paint. I think Rublev probably has. What you might want to do is buy the pigment and then make the paint, but just be very cautious with, of course, handling raw pigments. I oh, thank you, Giselle. I really did feel like I blew it though last week, and if I'm not careful, I'm gonna ruin this one too. Um, Beery, when doing a grayscale, how many shades do you use? I like to keep it around 5. If I'm going to be trying to keep my values really simple. And we're going to be doing a Zorn palette with the oil paint tomorrow. So you'll see me do things like that, like limit my values as I limit the colors. Yeah, Jeanette, just by adding water, you'll reactivate it. Yep, just by adding water. Yeah, this week I'm doing another friend of mine, painting another friend of mine from uh, not the Billiard Academy, but from the painting group that I go to once in a while on Saturdays. On painting him tomorrow, Thursday, we're painting in acrylic. We're going to be painting a tiger. And Friday in pastel. I don't know yet. I forgot already what I posted. Whatever I posted is what I'm going to do. Soft pastel portrait, I think that's all I said. I haven't really decided yet what I'm gonna. I'll probably paint another, either another master study or another. I don't know. I can have a vote if you want for whatever I'm gonna do. It's I know it's gonna be soft pastel because we did oil pastel 2 weeks in a row. So we're going to return to the soft pastel. And we're gonna pretty much just alternate from there. Is it a lion? Oh no. Did I write tiger or lion? Which one am I supposed to do? A tiger or a lion? I got them confused. See, this is why you write things down. I need to write things down. I can change it to a lion. I think it was a lion. Remember, you need to preserve the highlight, so that's what we're doing here. Yeah, the lion. Hopefully I can change that. Maybe, yeah, maybe I'm gonna change that after the stream because I don't want to just log out and accidentally log out of the, the stream. So yeah, I'll change that after the stream ends. A lion is what we're gonna do. Mona Lisa in soft pastels. Wow, that's gonna be a tough one. Mona Lisa in soft pastels. Well, that's a possibility. If you want me to do that, I can do that. We can let that be one option. Is there another option? Let's have 2 options for Friday so we can have a vote on it. Mona Lisa or what? What other thing would you like me to say? It does say tiger. Yeah, I'll change it. Don't worry. I forgot. Listening to too much Eye of the Tiger. Louise girl with the pearl earring. So the pearl earring or the Mona Lisa. Never really done the Mona Lisa, and I don't know if that's gonna. I don't think that's gonna be copyrighted, but that's one of those things I'm gonna have to look up. Gotta be careful not to get in trouble. I know the pearl earring is not gonna be copyright. No copyright problems. But yeah, for the lion, acrylic is gonna be, I think, better because, well, we're gonna want really bright colors, so it just kind of makes sense. Someone did the Mona Lisa in crayons, and well, actually, you wouldn't know if somebody got in trouble for anything they did on YouTube. They usually tell us and say we don't need to do anything. It's just mostly a warning, but you don't want to get too many warnings on YouTube. I've only had a couple warnings based on music. When I first started YouTube, I didn't think that the music that I use would get me into any kind of trouble, but it can if they're actively monetizing their music. Now again, don't fear if it looks too red or too dark, like I'm showing you now. You can push this into the paper and peel basically into it. So that's the goal here. So it's just paper towel. And I like using something that's too red at first, because it gives more of a pinkish blue. Yeah, it's definitely, oh, texture of fur with acrylic, yeah. Of course, you're going to have to use more of the acrylic to do that. But yeah, we can do that. Yeah. Just because the video up doesn't mean they didn't get in trouble. Just because the video's up doesn't mean they didn't get into trouble. Okie dokie. So it's been an hour, and anyone that may be new here, I tend to take a break every hour. These are 3-hour streams at a time. So I take a break every hour, and I play a video of my Shiba Inu, Hugo. And in the past, I would cover the background so that it would dry. But now that we have a little more experience with the watercolor, it's not necessary. It is way more forgiving than you may think. So I'm not going to cover the background. I'm just going to let it be as I take a break. And then when we return, we will continue on with this painting. See if I missed anything. Would you be able to do some Bob Ross landscapes in your style? They're not copyrighted. No YouTuber who has over 100 copying Bob. Yeah, I could do landscapes in a similar kind of anyone can follow type approach. I certainly can. I'd have to do some practice of it first. You still know I have the tiger stuck in your head. Well, that could be worse. So that's not too bad. Alrighty, everyone. I'm gonna take a break, just a couple minutes, and we'll return and keep working on this painting. Once again, don't go anywhere unless you absolutely have to. And we will be right back. Alrighty then, we have returned. No worries, Luis. I'll see you tomorrow. Sunset. Acrylic sunset. Yeah, we could do some acrylic landscapes. Definitely. Maybe this Thursday's acrylic lion will be kind of a precursor to other types of content. As someone already mentioned, the Bob Ross style stuff, something you might want to paint along to, but at the same time something that is fun to watch. Go come up with something. But yeah, sunset and acrylic, that's a possibility. Going in with the dark of the hair. And of course this will sink in. So don't need to worry about it being too dark. Yeah, so let me know what you'd want me to do. I mean, I can't do everything, but I can certainly try. Do or do not. There is no try. Going in with a dark red because I know that that's going to look a little lighter when it dries. Then we'll go in with all the darks afterwards. We'll use this kind of a gray, I guess. Something simple for the background. Or we can go wild. I have a violet. Yeah, why not? I have a violet. This is going to be quite silly. But why not? That's not the color in the painting. Oh, I know. Believe me, I know. But I just kind of felt like it. Sometimes you need to stop thinking so much. Stop thinking so much and just paint. Nice and simple wash of purple. Are you using more paint and less water? No, I'm using more water and less paint. I'd say more water and less paint. Even here, I used more water and less paint. Eventually, we may get to a point where we use more of the paint, but not really. Beery. Are there any safe oils to practice with? I've got a small room. Yeah, Cobra. Cobra Talon is the best for any kind of safety concerns. Cobra Talons is water mixable oil paint that you can use. Uh, you don't need any medium, you don't need any mineral spirits. You could kind of use it like this with just the paint and the water. You don't really need um, anything super special with it. Cobra Talons. Now I'm testing my little theory here if I can lift this up. It looks like I can. We're reactivating this as we go. Cobra Talons. Yeah, see? I was able to lift this up. Crazy. Crazy what we can do. But yeah, Cobra Talons is safe for any use in this in a small apartment or something where you don't want to use things like odorless mineral spirits. Oh, no problem, Beery. I understand a typo. Yeah, you could use the Holbein Duo as well. I think those are a little more expensive from what I've seen. But yeah, you can use those as well. Little fun fact, the maker of Cobra, I think, is also the same as the pastels that I use. The soft pastels. Not the oil thinner, but the soft pastels, the Rembrandt pastels. We're really messing around with the color. And again, you can reactivate all that stuff There's no need to fear. Watercolor portraits not as bad as you think. And again, don't worry about it being so sharp. You can reactivate it. Now, of course, there's light color there that needs to go. So I'm going to use the blue that we used for the the eyes. I add a little bit of some skin color to it. Very similar color to the sclera, the white of the eyes. Pretty much anything but yellow. So I'm putting down a mark or a plane, pretty specific plane change for each one of these planes of the face. And I'm not afraid to let it be over exaggerated. Hey, Paris to art. How could you work on different spots and still blend it when you're back? So like this, let me show you. The watercolor is different than the acrylic in the sense that, look, all I'm doing is adding water, nothing but water on this. And you can reactivate it like this and create that gradation. See? It's not so bad. So you can't do that with acrylic. As it dries and it dries. And can't do anything about it. But with uh, watercolor you can. See? Now that's why I know in full confidence I can go back into those shapes without having to worry too much about it. I am working on the 100% cotton. This is the paper that I'm using. Yeah, that's the paper I'm using. Yes, some paper will lift a little easier than others. Holbein is thicker and more pigmented than Cobra. Cobra is very oily. I think that's what a lot of people like about Cobra, is that it's a little more oily, kind of like traditional oil paints. But I think that they're both great options for anyone that wants to use oil paint but can't have the mineral spirits in their apartments or their homes. Or if you're like sensitive to the fumes. And see, I'll use the lift off here to blend these shapes in, soften others. As I said before, I knew that the hairline was gonna be too tall. I'll push that back. Adding this red for the hair. And we'll go on with the darker darks later. But as for now, just fixing the drawing as we go. Preserving that light. I'm gonna go in with the dark for the pupil. Let's fix some of the drawing. This still needs to, whoa, that's way too dark. Let's add the red. Thanks, Cassell. That was a while ago. That was, I'm glad you watched that video. I still have it here. It's one of the few that I took with me to the apartment. We'll maybe do it here, choose an animal, or use the same figure. So you mean for Thursday? Oh, you're right. For what to do Friday, I think. Yeah, so we could choose for the pastel. I don't know. What would you like me to do for the pastel? Soft pastel on Friday. Oh, you're thinking of the background and throw Mufasa in it. Oh, okay, for the oh, that's what you mean for the lion. Oh, well, yeah, I think we should add some stuff in that painting. I agree. That's kind of what maybe what helps with the distant mountains landscape painting where we added the Loch Ness monster. A bit of a greenish color. I did read in the comments that some people do like the subtlety trivia. Oh, with watercolor, because it's been a little bit more difficult for me recently. I haven't done any subtle trivia with watercolor. So even though I'm telling you it's a little more forgivable than you think, I still have to be a little more cautious with it this time. But as you see here, you can leave things like that, return to it, blend them into one another. It's really not that bad. So that one was Definitely not on location. I wish I could have done that on location. That's just from picture from Unsplash. I didn't even take the picture. It was just from the Unsplash. I had to make up like the color scheme and stuff, and I had to push the color with respect to the light and kind of fill in the gaps, the missing information. So no, I wish it was on location though. Maybe in the future I'll be so lucky to be able to paint on location like that. Yeah, I painted outside before. I've done some portrait painting outdoors for sure, but not like a long pose. Nothing I've been able to continue. But I have done some outdoor. Um, of course, I've done landscape, but I think we're talking more about portraiture, figure, and portraiture. I've never been able to do outdoor figure because that brings some challenges that perhaps are too difficult to overcome. But I've done some outdoor portrait before. When I lived in Maryland, some of the groups would meet up and paint portraits outside. One of my teachers even held a portrait class outdoors once, once or twice. Paulden Hamilton. I would definitely like to do an outdoor uh, portrait or figure painting in watercolor. Now that would be fun, especially since it's so easy to travel with watercolors. Yeah, I'm not using a terrible amount of paint. I'm not using quite a lot of paint, mostly thinning it out as I go, taking some off the brush with the paper towel. Which is why these pans work, because you don't need that much paint to do this. So you would think the lighting would always be challenging with the sun trying to capture the light and shadow outside. I'll let you in on a little secret with plein air painting. You can't really be a purist about the light and paint something slightly realistic on location. So what you got to do is kind of anticipate the direction of the light, how it will change, and adapt to it. So you don't always necessarily paint what you see. So capture the shadows at a specific point and don't chase them anymore. Let them be. And then spend the rest of your time working on the middle value range, as those won't change as much. In plein air. But of course, you can't work something like, say, you can't work 3 hours in plein air or 4 hours when the sun is changing the most. So the sun direction of the sun changes the most afternoon into evening. So you have to work morning light into afternoon. The direction won't change as drastically, and you obviously aren't going to want to work sunrise either. That's a drastic change. So you got to pick times where the change in the sun is it's a little more consistent. Yeah, of course, Giselle. Yeah, and maybe in the future, if I can carry a Wi-Fi with me, we could venture out, do some plein airs. I'm sure that technology is gonna get good enough to be able to do that at some point. I'm sure it will. Thanks, Hansel Dog. Yeah, anticipating the lights. Yes, yes, like putting in the planes you know that are there, but they're not quite as obvious. Oh no, this Hansel Dog. I haven't painted this friend in real life because this person's been dead for a long time. This is from a Waterhouse painting. So this is a master study. So no, this painting, this person lived way before me, way before all of us. But yeah, yeah, we've done a acrylic and a pencil drawing of this uh, image before. Now, of course, it's time to change the light sensitivity again. Something like that. Oh yeah, probably looks like the one model that I used to paint a lot. And Marilyn's red hair kind of set up. Try to preserve the highlight or some glimpse of a highlight. Remember, you can always subtract a little bit. So again, the theme for today is watercolor is more forgiving than you think. Watercolor puts on a tough facade, but is actually pretty chill once you get to know it. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, it is a master study from an artist from way back when, way back in the day. No worries. All good. Yeah, Waterhouse, if you haven't heard of him, definitely check him out. He's really good to study from. He's definitely one of the more, I guess, academic of the pre-Raphaelites. He's one of the pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood. He's the answer to one of the trivia questions that I usually ask. But again, no trivia just yet. Just so I'm sure that I don't mess this one up. Appreciate all the likes, everyone. We're at 27. Yeah, of course you can post paintings from the old master. Yeah, you can. Yeah, sure. Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, I always make sure to use images that are not uh copyright, like not gonna give us any copyright issues. Yeah, so you should be safe. Can't believe this portrait set didn't come with a green. That's a really important color for portraits. Yeah, I think copyright is 70 years. I hope this one is older than that. I think it is. Well, it's also in this image is also in the public domain. So public domain usually means safe to paint from. A little more blue, black and blue. Yep, black and yellow, black and yellow. It's like the song that came out when the one hit wonder when I was in art school. Black and yellow gives us a green. You're gonna hear a lot about that tomorrow with the Zorn palette. The jaw is a little sharper than what I have. See, look how forgiving watercolor is. It's not as bad as you think. Zorn palette is your favorite. It's definitely one of the top, I think, most popular limited palettes out there. Pretty much every portrait palette is based off of the Zorn palette. The original looks like a Polaroid. Oh, it could be the way that the light and shadow appears to the computer screen. Oh, okay, watching on. Oh, we're on the big screen. We're on the big screen. Yeah, it could be maybe some of the pixelation or something like that. But look how easygoing the watercolor is. It just waited there for me to blend it out again. I'm on TV. We're TV stars, everyone. Appreciate it. I'm glad I got a better microphone then. So I think on a phone it'll sound kind of the same, but on an actual speaker, like a TV speaker, it'll sound different. Now I'm kind of wishing I had a big screen. I could play my video games. It's kind of funny, right next to me there. So I'm using a monitor to manage the stream and the chats and stuff, and then I have a second monitor with my Nintendo Switch. That's the setup that I have. Alrighty, just past the second hour. So we are going to go ahead and take a break. Unlike in the past, we don't have to worry about how it dries or how it stays. It's going to stay put. I don't have to worry about any of the how it's going to dry. Like I said before, I was going to go in with darks and another layered background, add a little bit more subtlety for it, and we will finish this painting soon. But anyway, we're going to take a break for just a couple minutes. Don't go anywhere unless you absolutely have to, and we will be right back. Alrighty then. Hopefully you enjoyed my Shiba Inu Hugo's tricks, and we are back to continue working on this painting. And I think it's calm enough. Things have calmed down enough with the painting. I'm not too concerned about it anymore. At least about the watercolor technique. So we can start to introduce some subtle trivia now for those subtle trivia fans. Anyone that's not doesn't know what I'm talking about, what I do is I ask questions and you get a point for answering correctly. Sometimes I share the point. So say I ask what letter comes after A, and three people say the letter B. Of course, the letter B comes after the letter A, so those three people get that point, just as an example. Um, so let's get started here. Art history trivia along with trivia about me or anything really that I feel like talking about. As I said, this is kind of like a podcast style video as well. So, what school did I go to in Philadelphia? For 1 point for the first person that gets this one. Answer will point will only be given to one person, whoever gets that one right first. What is the name of the school that I went to in Philadelphia? Use the phone, Chromebook, TV, give slightly different colors to the picture. Yeah, that is kind of a difficulty that I have to work with here as well. So I am using three different, well, now just two different screens. What is the name of the school I went to in Philadelphia? For 1 point. Typically, the tougher points are awarded to only one. Whoever gets the answer first gets the point. Let's go back to the purple. Why am I adding purple to the background? I just felt like it. Don't overthink it. Just go with it. Yes, I know I should use just one fluid wash, but I don't feel like getting a bigger brush out. I know. Yep, Hansel Dog got that one. Point goes to Hansel Dog. Studio Incominati. Next question again for 1 point. Starting out with the more difficult ones first. What's the name of the founder of Studio Incominati? For 1 point. The name of the founder of Studio Incominati. And we're going to raise the light sensitivity yet again. Otherwise, you won't be able to see what I'm gonna do here. Now we're gonna go with black and red. Ansel Dog gets another one. Nelson Shanks. Ansel Dog in the lead with 2 points. Okay, next up for 1 point, 3 available answers. 3 available responses. First 3 people to answer correctly will get a point. And I do it this way just to make it more engaging for everyone. First 3 people to answer correctly will get a point each. Ready? Name 2 artists that are famous for their watercolor work. 2 artists that are famous for their watercolor work. Could be living or dead. Two artists famous for their watercolor work. First 2 responses get a point each. All right, Lisa's almost there. Sergeant and who? Giselle gets that one, Sergeant, and someone, I don't even know who that person is, but I'm assuming it is an artist famous for their watercolors. So there's one more available. One more point available. O'Keefe. Oh, okay. That rings a bell. 1 point left. So Giselle gets 1 point. Hansel Dog has 2. There's 1 point remaining for this question. More planes for the hair. And they will dry and they'll sink in. Kind of like using this red color from the hair over here. Why, I don't know. I feel like it would be kind of neat. So it has to be two, although Hansel, oh, did Monet do watercolor? He might have. I mean, he was in Sargent's circle, so perhaps. But the answer has to be two. Lisa wrote American Desert Southwest. You mean the O'Keeffe artist? Oh. Jada R. Yep, Bert Silverman and Sargent. Okay, there we go. I am not sure if Monet is famous for his watercolors, but I know Bert Silverman. So I'd have to give the point to Jada. Jada has now 1 point, Hansel Dog has 2, and Giselle has 1. I think. I'm going to forget the score in about 2 seconds. All right, so let's go to another trivia question. Another trivia question. It's so nice that I could just move that. So forgiving. All right. So this one will be for 1 point. 3 potential points. I mean, 3 potential answers. And this was one question that I said or asked last week. So remember, you can also make me laugh and get a point. I do encourage art jokes. So if you're not sure exactly how to answer, then there's always a joke. A point to the first 3 people that can tell me, describe the edge between light and shadow. Oh, no worries, Hansel Dog. Close, Giselle, but it was Jada that got that last one. So now, next question, 3 people can answer, each will get 1 point. Try to make this a little more competitive. Give me a logical answer or a funny one as to the definition between light and shadow. Look how easy this is to work with. We start to close in on the subtleties. Oh, yeah, I'm not making the reds that bright Lisa. I think they're a tad bit too bright in the original. I mean, we will add some of the red at some point, but not that bright. The lost line, close, close. The edge between light and shadow when Luke meets Darth Vader. All right, Gasol gets the point for funny. That was pretty funny. When Luke meets Darth Vader, the edge between the dark side. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good art joke goes to Giselle. So so you already got that one, Giselle. Joe, so 2 points or two more answers available, 1 point each participant. Joanne Smith, the plane. There, yes, it is a plane, but we want a little bit more specific. Let's add some red. Since he wanted me to add some red here, here, here. So that gotta be a little more specific. So yeah, Giselle, you already got that one. So I tried using this as a dot to spread the color. And perhaps this dries faster than I thought. But if it does, it's fine. They do make a white paint you can use. Kind of like a whiteout. So if this ends up being too dark. Opposite planes. That is logical. They are opposing planes. All right, Joanne gets that one. It does make it look like she has a black eye. You're right. Oh, here we go. Hansel Dog has another. A cat walks into a bar. He orders a whiskey and then knocks it off his paw. The bartender says, "What are you doing?" The cat says, "I don't like whiskey. I just like knocking things off the counter." That's a good one, but maybe a tad bit too much there. Yeah, so if in the event I want to cover that, I'm going to use the white. Again, watercolor is not as bad as you think. So opposite planes works. So Joanne can get that one. Of course, Giselle got that one. There's one more left for anybody that wants it. Let's try this mixture here. Kind of like pinkish. It kind of works, but it's too blue. So the paint can get thicker towards the end. And yes, you do have a white paint you can use, though you don't want to rely on it. But for things like that, you can use it. So let's use it. I have it to my right. I think. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, there it is. So it's Chinese. It's called Chinese white. So what I'm going to do is mix it with the red. So we'll paint kind of opaque. So this is the red. Mix the Chinese white. It'll make its own pink. Makes its own pink. Now we can add it back to that. So that'll work just fine. Just gonna make that look darker. Oh, thanks, Lisa. Well, the white, I've done it before. And basically what you want to do is cover more opaque, but not so thick, because if you paint it too thick, it'll basically react a little strange, a little funny. I've done this a couple times already in my practice, so you see. And yes, of course, we're gonna thin it like that, which is totally why I always say to work lighter, because we're gonna have to go darker into that anyway. Well, no worries. Thanks for joining, Jada. All right. So, as anticipated, we were able to use the Chinese white to paint a little bit thicker. But what I like to do is, if I'm going to use the white, I'm going to mix it, as you saw there, with something. Yeah, on its own, yeah, it can look chalky. But then again, it's all relative. It also depends on the screen that you're looking at this from. That's why I say don't use white on its own. Mix it with something, because yes, it can look chalky. It basically turns blue, kind of like a dulled out blue. Oh, thanks, Kissa. All right, next up for 1 point. Again, I'm gonna let it be for the first two that answer the question correctly. For the first two people, so this is gonna be 1 point each. Name a brand of water mixable oil paints that you would recommend someone use. Name a brand of water mixable oil paint that you would recommend to a friend. Whoever answers this correctly gets a point. And there are 2 points available, 1 per answer. There we go. Preserve that highlight. Okay, Winsor Newton, but what specifically? What specifically is their water mixable called? Okay, so there, now we have that kind of blush color. I was avoiding it for a while, but then we added it in. Now with the remaining 30 minutes, we'll just go ahead and just basically work on the rest of the subtleties of the face. Pretty much in the same manner that we did before. And the main takeaway from today, that watercolor is not as dangerous as you thought. Watercolor is more forgiving than you think. There you go. So first point goes to Giselle. 2 more available. All you gotta do is name a brand of water mixable oil paints that you would recommend a friend. Though I tell you, Giselle, if you're recommending a friend to use the Artisan, I must ask you if you've used it before, because usually that's the brand that people detest, is the Artisan. So if you're recommending Artisan to a friend, you may not like that friend very much. Artisan is basically the least popular. You still get the point though. You still get that point, but I didn't know if you knew about that brand in particular. It's the least popular. It's what you had. Oh, okay. No worries. I mean, you can make it work. I'm not saying it's it's not good to use, but it is the one that people tend to not like the most. Yeah, Cobra is the one you would want to get. You'd want to compare it to Cobra. And then once you use the Cobras, you're not going to want to use the Artisans anymore. Because they kind of, people don't like it because it has kind of a gumminess, a gummy feel to it, as opposed to oil paints typically feel like melted butter kind of thing. The creaminess of it is what people like about oil paints. All the other ones kind of feel that way too, though. The other ones that I've tried. All right. Delia Hannah gets a point. Cobra Talons. And I did mention it, didn't I? I did. I gave that name, didn't I? Yep, you get a point. You might have just been asking about it, but it was part of our subtlety trivia, so you do get the point. You now have a point. Giselle, you like butter? That's good. Yeah, these are Cobra Talons. I'm not using it right now because I'm using watercolor. But yeah, those are the ones you want to get if you're going to use water mixable oil paints. Next up on subtlety trivia, 1 point only to one person, whoever answers it first. Very common question on here. What is the name of the artist that would most likely kill you if you met them in real life? What is the name of the artist that would most likely kill you if you met them in real life? If you meet this artist in real life, you're probably not going to live to tell the tale. Oh, very close. Joanne Smith so close. Alder and Joanne Smith right neck and neck. Alder gets that point for answering first. It is Caravaggio. Next up for 1 point and 1 point only to one person. What is the name of the famous female artist that painted in the Caravaggisti style, the Caravaggio style? What is the name of the famous female artist that painted in the Caravaggisti style? Delia, you already answered? Let me check. Before I said it. Oh, okay. I didn't see it. You have the point for sure, definitely. You definitely have that point now. Sorry I didn't see it. Was he in the Italian mafia? Did Caravaggio? He was just known to have a bad temper and carry around a sword and a dagger. Yeah, sorry I didn't see that before. Delia. Alright, Giselle gets that one. It was Artemisia Gentileschi. Alright. Next up for 1 point and 1 point only. That means it's a little more difficult. Sounds like a French, like a chef you once worked for. Just don't feed him artichoke. Next up for 1 point and 1 point only, which means it's more difficult question. Where in the U.S. Where in the U.S. did Mary Cassatt go to school? Where in the U.S. did Mary Cassatt go to school? Of course, to study art. I think this is the fold. Yeah. It's the fold that's making that look dark. It's actually not as dark as it looks. See that? It's the fold. Yeah, that may not be a good thing. See that? It's the fold that's doing that. So maybe I'll experiment with spraying the back of the paper to avoid that. Oh, look at that. I almost kept it in place. So perhaps maybe I only have 2 sheets left, 2 sheets of this paper left, so I'll experiment with another one. Delia, that one was from before, I think. Yeah, so that one was from before. The Caravaggio one. Unless if you answered it before that, let me know. Then you can have the point as well. So if I didn't see it, or if there was some kind of lag, then you still get the point. Oh, close, close. Lisa, it's Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts. No worries, Delia. Okay, next up for 1 point. There are three people can answer and receive 1 point each. 3 people can answer and receive 1 each. I saw something on the arts channel. All right. 3 people can answer and receive 1 point each. Let's go. Name 3 famous painters from the Baroque era. 3 famous painters from the Baroque era. Not because they went Baroque, but from the Baroque era. And we've got just under 20 minutes. And this fold is still bothering me. Although it's not so bad. Maybe I should cover the background one more time, see if it'll get that to settle in. So I'm going to add some blue to the purple for the background. I just kind of felt like it. See if covering the background a little bit more will help. I still stand by what I said. Watercolor is way more forgivable than you'd think. Well, let's go in with the hair first. It's way more forgiving than you think. And of course, that's going to dry and settle in. And didn't notice it, but she does have her hair tied down that way. But I'm going to ignore it with this one. Three famous painters from the Baroque era. First 3 people to answer will get a point each. Rubens, Velasquez, Burmy. Okay, Delia, you get that point as well. Okay. you also have that point. I just didn't see it. Delia also gets that point because I didn't see it. Thanks for spotting that. Adding another layer to the hair. Oh, I did say famous artists. So I guess Bach would I guess that would work. So Joanne gets that one. One more left. Now we can finally add this dark. One more left. All you gotta do is name 3 famous artists from the Baroque era. I think it kind of worked. Lifted it a little bit, maybe. Not quite. Maybe I'll have to glue. I don't know. I'll figure it out. I was thinking just glue the paper to something, but it'll still lift. Rubens, Velasquez, Franz Hall, Delia is correct. All right, you also get that point. Okay, alrighty. Great job there. Delia. Next up for 1 point. Next up for 1 point. 2 participants will be able to get a point from this question. This subtle trivia question. And this one will be the last because we were about to be 10 minutes away. So, first 2 people to answer, what are the most toxic oil paints you could use? What are the most toxic oil paints you could use? And that'll be the last one for the night, and you're going to tally up your points. This might be pretty close. And finally, a watercolor that I didn't completely bomb, as we're learning more and more each week. Spanish expressionists. Well, no, Rembrandt was from Amsterdam area. Let's see. So Joanne, cadmium is one of the components. It is a toxic material that you can use. There's a time lag delay. Oh no. Sorry for the time lag, but I trust you. You can keep track of the points that you are rightfully yours. And just count them, tally them up. We can have a first place, second place, third place. If there's a lag, don't worry. Just let me know that you answered it, one of the questions, on time. And they still count. Yeah, Dutch painters. So cadmium and lead, we will say, are acceptable. And all the paints contain the metal cobalt. That's true. All right, so Joanne, Lisa, and Giselle get that final point. So now is the time for you to tally up your points. Time for you to tally up your points. Any questions that you answered correctly but had a time lag issue, you may award yourself those points. Hey, Delia. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you're inspired to do watercolor portrait. Actually, not really. You don't need to do what I'm doing here. You don't need that high quality. This is a artist loft brush. It's pretty cheap. It's so cheap that the words already, I've already rubbed the words off of it. The paints that I'm using for the most part are pretty cheap as well. I think it's also like a cheap artist loft brand. It is in a pan pastel or pan, not pastel, pan watercolor set. I have some links in the description to similar watercolor set that you can buy, but I would also recommend that you get the tubes. As you saw, I was just using the cheap watercolor artist loft. And yes, we can correct mistakes with watercolor. And you can keep working on it too, as long as the paper doesn't fall apart. Even though this did buckle a little bit before, I fixed it somehow. See how it's not... Remember, this was casting a shadow down here? Now it's not. So it just fixed itself. So yes, you can make corrections with it. Watercolor is a very affordable material to get into. So if it's something you just feel like experimenting with, it's not going to cost you that much money to get into. And you basically just use water to do all the thinning out. You don't need odorless mineral spirits. You don't need any mediums. I mean, I'm sure you could find some to use, but I don't really feel like I need them. Why I'm adding this blue to the purple, I don't know. I just kind of felt like it. Yes, anything containing lead or cadmium. But the now is the point. Remember, everyone tally up your points. There probably was a lag there. I don't know why it's lagging so much. Usually towards the end of a painting, with whichever material I'm using, I typically just rather work on the background than the face. Joanne, 3 points. Yeah, Mercury, right? We're talking about uh what are we talking about? Vermilion. Yeah, definitely. And we're just having fun with the background. So tally up those points. So right now all we got is Joanne with the 3 points. So if no one else claims points, Joanne is going to be the winner. I think that didn't Giselle have 3 as well? I'm not sure. Glad you like the purple in the background. I don't know why I just went with blue purple. I just kind of felt like it. Purple blue, blue purple. It's just fun to work with. Something different. My backgrounds have typically been a little too brown or yellow, I guess. Or Giselle has 6 points. 6 points. Grace, I think she sent me a message on Facebook, and I must have missed it. I haven't checked my Facebook since Friday, so I probably missed some stuff. I usually have a greenish background. Oh, okay. Good thing I went with purple. I went with something different. Something different. So Delaire's got 4. Giselle has 6. Joanne has 3. So it looks like we have a first, second, and third place here. Looks like we have a first, second, and third place. Unless someone claims more points. Looks like that might be it. Giselle has first place. Delia has second. Joanne has third. Giselle with 6 points. Delia with 4. And Joanne with 3. Of course, Delia. So this was fun. Like I was saying before, watercolor is not as watercolor is more friendly than you think. You can reactivate the paint and as such make corrections. As you saw earlier, I was just leaving individual planes there. Here, here, up here. I even still left that there. and went back into it, something like that. Could go back into it, soften it with the water, and it would be just fine. Oh, thanks, Lisa. Grace wasn't here. That's no worries. You did well. You did well in the subtle trivia. Yeah, good night, everyone. Thanks for joining. Appreciate all the likes. Appreciate all the likes, everyone. That being said, I wish you all the very best, and I will see you tomorrow.